A bitter Senate race in Mississippi enters its final days, and Holly Bobo's mother breaks her silence. It's time to go on the record. Joined today by Sarah Blue and Tom Dees making an appearance here on the record. Thanks so much for being here tonight, guys.
Thank you.
Sarah, let's start with you. Some intense moments after court this week with Holly Bobo's mother. Tell us about that.
It was definitely nothing that we expected because, you know, every time that we go into court or we see the family there in the court and they're just very silent. They just go back to their car to get away from the media frenzy. But this time, she actually went across the street, and I think it was done to get everyone away from Jason Autry and to show that this is not, again, she keeps reiterating, this is not what this is about. We're focusing too much on the suspects. So I think she walked across the street purposefully to get us all away from those suspects and to say, this is what we're here for. We're here for justice for Holly. We're not here to talk about the suspects. We need to get back to the original reason that we were all here. And so I think it was a good move on her part.
You know, and this really goes to the other big issue this week in court, which was a story that you actually broke this week, the gag order that the prosecutors were actually looking for, really because the defense attorneys are saying so much that they wanted to try to tamp that down and not allow them to speak outside of court, right? Right,
and the big thing that brought this on, it was cited in the gag order, which we have online for people to read. A media outlet in Nashville snuck a camera into the jail where Jason Autry is being held at, and the TVA actually said he used deception to get this in there. And so aired this interview, and the TBI is trying to squash all of this because they're saying we don't want any facts to get out prematurely, especially about any witnesses, about any more suspects that we may see. But then at the same time, the attorneys are like, look, we're not trying to divulge facts. We're just trying to get our client's side of the story out there. So, and again, you know, Holly's mother talking about how she said that this is all just a circus sideshow, was her words, to distract from the real purpose. And she thinks the attorneys are purposefully doing this to distract from justice for Holly.
Big news this week. I know there's a lot of new developments coming out, and Sarah, you've been on top of that story, so we'll watch for what else comes out. Tom, you've been covering some politics down in Mississippi. This Senate race, Senator McDaniel challenging Thad Cochran. What's it been like? It's turned bitter, hasn't it?
But Matt, I think bitter is an understatement. My grandmother is from Mississippi. We got a lot of family from Mississippi. There's a statement down there, or an old saying, that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I think when you start looking at the two candidates in this case, if that were to apply, neither one, they'd both be silent, because all we heard is attacks. We've seen from the bizarre on both sides, from the photographing of Rose Cochran in the nursing home by some of the supporters of McDaniel, supposedly, and then we've got on the other side, we've got the attack on Kay Weber on Cochran. I don't think that, and I read in one of the newspapers that this is possibly the dirtiest campaign ever on both sides.
So you did some, we'll call it unscientific polling.
I think it's extremely unscientific.
Tell us about this. Tell us about your testing here.
I like, well, my dad growing up, he ate a lot of Vienna sausages. And I don't know if you've ever had Vienna sausages or not, but his birthday was this week. Well, I posted a picture of my daughter and I celebrating his birthday by eating Vienna sausages. Okay, and the conversation on there blew up. There were some 85 to 100 comments on Vienna sausages and potted meat. And somewhere after that, I posted a statement in the state of Mississippi. If you live there as a voter, who are you going to vote for? Thad Cochran or Chris McDaniel? And it generated maybe 20 hits. Now, that's not scientific polling in any way, shape, or form.
But it's what people are talking about,
but
right?
Clearly,
or what inspires people to make conversation.
And if you go on Facebook, though, there's not, I don't think there's a whole lot, and what I'm getting back to is, I don't think there's a whole lot of interest. There's a lot of national interest.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to ask about. You know, I look at some of the political reporters from Washington, D.C. and New York that have come into Mississippi, and they're making a huge deal about this. And sometimes we hear about the moves from them first. Is it as big as they're making it for Mississippi voters?
Well, on that level, I think for the parties, for the candidates, they're very much into each other. They very much think it's a big deal. Outside of that, I can't say that. On the street, you see signs, but people are not talking about it. If you go to social media, there's not a lot of chatter about it. There's not a lot of chatter about that election period. And I was talking to some.
And a lot of this money too is coming from all over the country. It's not Mississippi. These are outside
it's
groups.
outside
that are
outside influences that are pumping the money into both campaigns.
I think it's a lot of, if you don't mind, I think it's a lot of people are just tired of hearing about the negative politics and the bickering, and you just immediately just tune that out.
Well, you hit on something with, a guy who I talked to in South Haven, one of the aldermen down there, and in Horn Lake, and he said that he feels like the mudslinging is going to have the exact opposite effect. It's going to keep the numbers way down. So when it comes down to the candidates or potted meat,
it's all about voter turnout.
Yeah.
And the election day is right around the corner, so it'll all be over in just a few days. People will make up their minds, make their decisions.
Vote for Vienna sausage.
vote for Vienna sausage.
Tom Dees, Sarah Blue, thanks so much for going on the record this week.
Thank you.